important that we make best use. I would request that in the next, we need 15 minutes in the end to share with you few of the decisions that we have taken, few of the ideas that we would like to share with you about what we want to do. But there are many more things that you have to share with us about what we should do. Meeting and network, not NIIM, not IIM Ahmedabad, and network means all of it. So think of ideas, please think of ideas where you wish to take, you wish to be a champion of a particular dot point on the spectrum of ideas. And if you say, well, I am willing to take responsibility for this, we'll say, okay, we will all work under discussion. So a distributed network should work through distributed leadership. Otherwise, it's true, isn't it? So if different colleagues take responsibility for different verticals of the network, then the network will grow in a truly democratic, participating, collaborative manner. Otherwise, it will become centralized. And the tendency in every network is to centralize, if you take it. Every institution, every system involved tends to centralize. Unless and until there is a countervailing power. Until there is a countervailing process. So we need forces, processes, actors, institutions, mechanisms, which will counteract the centralization tendency. Centrifugal and centripetal forces have to constantly struggle. अभी तो मार्क्स का नाम बहुत पॉपुलर नहीं है, so we don't talk about this in antithesis. But he had conceived this idea much earlier than any other thinker. In the 19th century, mid-19th century, he had told us that unless and until you build a dialectical model of development, the model will not be authentic. So I think dialecticism as a methodology is very powerful. May not be as an ideology, but as a methodology, dialectics is very powerful. We must look at contradictory forces, contradictory power, contradictory processes, and see how whatever we are proposing, look at, you can oppose it, and then develop a strategy how to master it. So it becomes, it is an open, explicit game of power for the creativity. So please let us know more ideas. What you want in declaration, what is that? There are two things we want. One is recommendation, which you think network should follow, and one is declaration, where you want some ideas to go to the whole world as a collective voice of this group. We will make a draft, send it to all of you by email for an approval. We will give you 10 days to make any correction that you want to make. We will again circulate it, the second draft, and about 2 or 3 iterations we will finalize and the bar declaration. But broad principles we have discussed already, I have shared with you. So if anybody disagrees with anything that we have discussed, that you can point out, or if you want to flag a strong sense of disapproval, we say that, then we will not include that in whatever we have shared. So new ideas, recommendation, if you are making, say recommendation. If it is declaration, say declaration. Anybody? Yes? No. Mike, ले जाओ. Please, rush. ये तुम रहते हो, ये जाए.
I'm just taking off on the point. I mean, somebody mentioned building the brand. So one of the aspects was whether this branding of the products that come out of the grassroots sector, we could play on that a bit. I'm thinking of the Oxfam model, because there is a price that we get in the outside market, not within the community, but in the outside market that commands because of the moral value that's attached to a good that's coming out of marginalized communities. You could perhaps think of a similar model here as well, where there's a brand, a uniform brand or a certification of something of all the products that come out of grassroots individuals. If you have that certification and it stands for something in the market, you would automatically get some kind of value, and people would want to buy it because it's coming out of this community. More as.
And then a small fee goes to the network, running the activity.
Sorry?
Then the small fees from that, those who want to use this brand, goes to the network.
Absolutely.
For running the network.
Absolutely. And the second one was, I want to build back in on the point that somebody had mentioned, and something I wanted to mention yesterday as well, which is really, because the more I'm speaking to innovators that are part of this network, a lot of them are coming up with stuff also as a direct response to problems existing within the sector. I mean, to alleviate some most of it. Yeah, and I saw your focus on compassion, and I think that's a very important component. So outside can solve it, but I think the database is not given to the community within. That people have definite identifiers because, within the innovation matrix, identifying the problem itself may be the biggest creative challenge. Just what is the problem? I can see the larger social problem, but what is the technology problem that I need to solve in order to take care of? So just the database of problems itself, and communicating that not just to the outside world through databases that are on the internet, because the community is not going to access it, but really communicating the problems itself through your Shodhyantras and through the mechanisms to disseminate the message within these communities. Because I may have a problem in one village, which if it is communicated to somebody sitting far away, and I have this inventor here, who's worked with the Pochampally, Malaysian who's worked with the Pochampally people, and he says that what he invented for the Pochampally sarees.
It's now being used in many other states.
Absolutely, he's gone to Rajasthan and others. So, let's assume that he identified the problem, that his mother is having this issue, but he's not able to get a solution. If he had gone to the weaving communities around, and this problem had been, sort of spelled out, somebody could have come up with a solution.
Okay, yes. He has been quiet all this while. You have the right to say it last.
Yeah, just before the tea break, there was a reference that we do not have enough women innovations documented. With regard to that, I have just a recommendation. Most of these people who are present here belong to certain NGOs or from the government sector. Say, I know that most of these NGOs have thousands or hundreds of women self-help groups with them. Why don't NIF use these women self-help groups and document the women innovation? Professor would remember that our organization had a drive for documenting women innovations of just one block. And block Panchayat, and we documented almost more than 5,000 innovations of women. And out of that, mosquito repellent has come out as a successful enterprise. So if NIF, under the leadership of NIF, or the NGOs could document, scout the women innovations through the women self-help groups, I am sure that we will have thousands of innovations of women to be presented here.
Father Albert is from Clearway Development Society for Kerala, and he's absolutely right. The experiment we had done in one block, there were 8,000 total bits of information, 5,000 interesting observations of Harvard and all that. Yes, this is something that all the partners here sitting here should keep in mind, that we need to close the gap. We are very ashamed of the fact that we have very few women developers being awarded at each function. This is a gap we want to bridge. Help us to bridge this gap. It is also possible that if we do not find in technology, at least in culture, education, institution, we should be able to recognize them as such. Those who still recognize more women creative because that NIF invitation. It has to be unique, it has to be novel, it has to have applications. So therefore, these standards being what they are, and the fact that women are not always given access to the tools of the trade. In our culture, women are not allowed to be blacksmith, they are not allowed to be carpenter. So those two streams of education are denied in environment. So like that, there are many cultural barriers which are prevented. But in the areas where they have access, child care, mother care, women care, processing, food processing, and other areas, they have enormous advantage. Anything else, please? Yeah.
I think I've been looking at the declaration, and I find one point where I think that there is, relatively speaking, lesser emphasis, and that is on the question of enterprise development. And I don't think enough thought has yet been put into saying how do we both incentivize it, how do we help in create an ecosystem for enterprise development, and which would require a lot of business innovation itself. We should start rewarding actually business innovation. Like somebody helps build a group enterprise which actually allows the local economy to be upgraded itself so that the maximum impact is felt on the peasants, artisans who begin to, let's say, bring transformation in their very system of agriculture or animal husbandry or, one can talk about. So I think the enterprise development, business innovation, supporting that enterprise development, network of enterprises, because I think there are a number of functions which have to be performed with enterprise which are different from the way, let's say, innovation takes place. Because the diffusion has its own requirements or functions which one can enumerate, but there are 8 or 9. In fact, when we build our intermediaries for the people science technology movement, we identified about 12 functions, and out of that I can say about 8 to 9 functions are really specific to enterprise development. And I think that particular element I find, because at the moment the emphasis is on informal sector, which is research institutions, it's on financing institutions, it's on designers, it's on testing and calibrators. But I think the enterprise development, without that, the diffusion cannot actually take place. The impact cannot be felt of the innovations. And in a variety of ways, enterprise development. There are individual entrepreneurs who will become probably run into crores that are over, they'll be venture capitalists. Like the industrial revolution, they grew. But and I'm not talking the merchant capitalists, which actually are our tradition far more. Birla, Tata, they're all merchants who broke into capitalists. But apart from it, I can think of a variety of forms of business innovation and enterprise development which need to be carried out. And I think there should be a full section on that, and it's not there at all.
Actually, there is a lot of experience in the network. One of my students who unfortunately is not here but has done a great work, Asad Pastaki, he documented the experience of Bletchworth. What he did, he sent a postcard to every village in the district calling as to an anonymous farmer, and then gave a formula for pesticide. He also wrote it on his wall of his school. And then he said, if you want, you can make it. But if you don't have time to make it, buy it from me. And that formula, 1995, this is of completely, must have been done around 92, 93. Great idea. That he knew that people are lazy. We know the ginger and honey extract helps in cough. How many of us will take the labor of making extract of ginger, mix it with honey and take it? We buy it or use this. So he knew the human psychology, that even if you know the solution, you will not use it yourself. You will rather buy it. And he skillfully used that business model. I completely agree with you that we should pay more attention to such innovations, which provide very creative ways of expanding markets for innovative products. We should, we will stress that.
Support entrepreneurs.
Yes, we will do that. What do you add?
My comment, I don't know whether it's appropriate here or not, but I think it's more of a value that the network is trying to communicate across all stakeholders who are part of the network. The kind of principles, ethics, and values that we practice, that should be also communicated here very clearly for others to also exhibit that kind of. That is what we will also share today.
Very good point. Once I told my friends in IIM, the day I feel that they are departing from the basic ethical protocol, I will sit on protest outside their office. Because I will consider myself my primary responsibility to the network. That is where I should draw my sustenance. And I have an organization, the part of government. I am not part of government. I am not part of the network. So therefore, I will not mind opposing even the NIM legalizes. If, once when we set up 97 GAN, the first principle to given to the team was they will never call an individual to their office. They will go and provide services at the first step of the evolution. They cannot call into office. That was the principle we developed. So that is this bureaucratic nature of the organization will not even emerge, forget about very strongly. But sometimes we may falter. And I think it's good to remind, you're right, that we should state up front what are the values the network upholds. And within that framework of values, these are the recommendations or declarations. We will do that. Just a minute, Dr. Bhatt, and then go with.
मेरा एक प्रश्न है, ये जो गुजरात में कोई धान्य उत्सव हो रहे हैं, तो इसमें जो बनती है, ओली, बाजरा, चैना और जो लाल जुआ और दूसरा है कोदरा, ये सब लुप्त हो जा रहे हैं, तो उसको बचाने के लिए कोई अभियान शुरू हो रहा है?
ये जो हमारा सात्विक फेस्टिवल हम करते हैं हर साल, पारंपरिक खाद्य उत्सव करते हैं, आप आए हैं उसमें, अभी दिसंबर 29-31 को होगा, तो उसमें हमारा प्रयास तो है कि इन प्रमुख अनाजों की मांग को बढ़ाकर इनको बचाया जाए। और अभी बंटी का लड्डू तो बड़ी बड़ी शादियों में इस्तेमाल होना शुरू हो गया अहमदाबाद में, तो एक चीज़ तो पॉपुलर हो गई, बंटी का लड्डू, माउंटा का लड्डू पॉपुलर हो गया। अभी कोदरी को और ज़्यादा पॉपुलर करना है, तो कोदरी के बाद टॉक्सिक पाउडर, कोदरी को करना है, नकली को करना है, नकली में कैल्शियम बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, तो अभी वो काम अभी अधूरा है, लेकिन शुरुआत है। लेकिन आपकी बात सही है कि जो पैटर्न हैं या नियर एक्सटेंशन जो हैं स्पीशीज, क्रॉप्स या वैराइटीज जो हैं, उनका कंजर्वेशन, इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम तो उसके बिना नहीं डेवलप होगा।
GI patents, but we can know. So there is no organization which is campaigning in the area of GI patents. If you look at Kashmir, our shawls and other things are being made, what I can say, exploited in other regions. We have many problems in many areas and many states. Why not to take up GI patents and help these communities, because they are all grassroots innovations basically coming from poor class of people. So if we take up support from them also, I think that is relevant to NII activities.
I will get you the support. We will not expand too much into, as you know, we work, even in traditional audit, our work is focused on non-codified, non-documented, unique, hitherto not in public domain knowledge. We have issues. GI is about the knowledge which is already in public domain, well known and distributed in the region. तो वो अभी एनआईएफ तो नहीं कर पाएगा उस काम को, लेकिन आई विल ट्राई टू लिंक यू अप विद कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री एंड सी व्हेयर वी कैन, बट वी विल हेल्प द
Thank you, sir. I've got 4 points for the preamble, which will come in as part of the declaration, and one as part of the text. I imagine you will agree when I say the preamble should very clearly state the following, and that is to recognize and foster scientific temper where it exists, because scientific temper is the foundation, number one. Number two is, and where it appears to exist but is not so very explicit, we will infuse that scientific temper to sustain lateral thinking or innovation. And that will kind of justify the outreach activities, the
our argument is that the former sector innovators, what they do, it already follows the scientific principles. So, issue is not to infuse, issue is to underline and identify the science underlying their practice.
To recognize
so they are actually all, without science they will not make a replicable, testable, refutable solution. So therefore, science is already there, but they will not be aware of it, they will not articulate it.
So it may be useful to say that as part of the preamble, that we will recognize and foster it, because scouting for innovations is a process of recognizing it also. Right? And there was one final point with which I had stopped. I had discussed this in the group discussion there. It is with reference to 3D here, networks and dissemination. Where they have said creating an international group of mentors, harnessing the experiences and expertise of innovators as well as subject matter experts. I thought we should add the following: duly recognizing emerging scientific considerations. For instance, when we say we are going to use the bullet, the motorbike, for a plow, the emissions that will come out may have an impact on the soil, and this in turn would have an impact on the carbon credits frameworks that will come up in the future.
So what discussion came up in one meeting, and we said that the carbon dioxide actually will increase the photosynthetic efficiency of the crop. So in groundnut, which is where the sake is used, it contributes actually to increase productivity.
So this
because you are providing very focused way, high content of carbon dioxide to the crop, and therefore the you can take up some experiment on that from physiology point of view. It will be nice to prove that because of the sake and focus concentrated dose of carbon dioxide, whether the photosynthetic efficiency is going up. But it's a good point.
So So this is only as a guiding principle, purely recognizing emerging scientific concepts.
But I agree with you. These are very important points. Yesterday somebody had asked the question, what are the bad grassroots innovations? You made that point. Somebody had said that. Use of dynamite for catching fish is a bad grassroots innovation. We do not document that. We do not share that. Like that, there are many innovations that people have provided, God forbid, for abortion of girl child. We will not share that. We are aware of that, but we will not share it. We will not put that in the database. We will not even mention that in any source of petition. But we are aware. So what we are saying is, we take note of that so that we know what to counteract. But we don't give currency to that. But we don't want to believe that every class innovation is good, sustainable, benign. No. There are people at the grassroots level who are very creative in destroying life. And we are aware of that. Yes. So that I don't want to have a feeling that everything grassroots is good. That's not the way. It is not that. Informal sector can have all kinds of viciousness that formal sector can. So there is nothing benign per se that informal sector is not benign by definition. No, it's not so. We should have that consciousness that contradictory forces are there in every system. Next, please. Yes.
There is a general feeling that when we are talking of grassroots intervention, we are talking of very low-level technologies. I would like to the definite statement in the declaration that we are also talking of very high-end technology, and in terms of business models also, whether services industry, decentralized village-based services industry can be developed, and we try to reward and have definite specific challenges for youth to go back to their villages. They may be engineers, but if they go back to the villages and they have a design.
Thank you very much. This is a very important point. We have often said it, but we should not forget it in the education. It's a very good reminder. There are technologies that are pushing the frontier of science, and there is no scientific equivalent to that. Many examples of that. Mixing an insect and a leaf together to create alarm pheromones, which repel the pest, is an example. There is no scientific technology where an insect and a plant will be matched to produce chemistry of alarm pheromone. The professor was expert in that field, and we should do more research on that, but we know that there is actually a solution where 10 people will stand in a row, crush the leaf, catch the receptacle, walk in a row, and they catch it together. Yes.
So, I just take the point forward here. So, talk very important about business process. Yesterday in our discussions, it came out how even the testing and become a difficult part. So the declaration should actually focus on or talk about public funded organizations like IITs, even IIMs for that matter. I can file an RTI and get to know what you have done out there. It's a long thought, I don't know, but as public or funded organizations, there should be some responsibility over these areas. I'm not seeking charity out here. It's a duty. Like we have fundamental responsibilities and duties in our section. There should be a movement towards that. And second point that came out this year is, grassroots innovations, they're huge and they're vast. Is there now a need to have trust areas? I might want to say that we have section on, say, machinery, we talk of pottery, we talk of herbal. So maybe the challenge here is, if I say in Ahmedabad declaration that herbal is my trust area for next 2 years when we meet next time, I don't intend to say that we are neglecting others. But if we develop these
energy.
Yes, so then it becomes easy for the experts to align, students to align, processes to align. So probably now, when we have documented all this, there is a need for trust areas. And if we can evolve on a trust area before our next meet, I always quote sir when he says that any change not
desired.
So just to make the monitoring easy, let's take a one trust area and see how.
That is clear from this. It's a good suggestion, but I would welcome your ideas as to what should be done. Yes, please. Those who have not spoken should at least make, those who have not made contribution. Everybody who has not spoken should at least make one contribution. Please.
I have many ideas. One by one I am telling you.
Okay,
One is a housing at the rate of 25% cost. I have housing at the rate of 25% cost. kind of housing we can innovate.
Low cost housing. Okay, what else?
Innovative mobile instruments. Still there is a chance, scope for the innovation in the mobile instrument.
Okay.
It will be very.
Okay.
Third is the advanced banking systems. Then advanced organization management system, manager kind of things are happening. We should avoid by some advanced banking and labor system so that we can avoid that things. Then zero traffic jam system. There will be no traffic jam at all.
I could suggest that you can give us those problems.
Okay.
We cannot focus at this moment on time. That we'll take note of it. We'll kindly give it to writing.
Train at present, trains are running at the speed of 100 kilometers, maximum 100 or 120. But I have ideas. Train can run up to 200 to 300 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
We can make some models and advanced organization.
Last.
Combating corruption, zero corruption system.
Okay.
That also I have some idea. Energy saving. Up to 50% to 25% saving in the electricity. Then innovative judicial system. It takes 5 years to 10 years for a case.
Okay. But we are not focusing on your ideas. Understand? The framework of Honeybee Network is not to work on the ideas of professionals. It is to work on the ideas of the grassroots community.
I get
So kindly understand our limitation.
I
We
get
can't solve all the world problems. No?
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
हेलो सर, ज़्यादातर प्रॉब्लम्स जो गांव में डेली लाइफ में होती है तो उसमें उस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने के लिए बच्चों का बड़ा योगदान होता है। छोटे छोटे बच्चे जो स्कूल में पढ़ते हैं, गांव में रहते हैं, तो वो छोटी छोटी मुश्किलें को हल कर सकते हैं। हमारे जो सिलेबस है, टेक्स्ट बुक है, उसमें इनोवेटिव एक्टिविटी ऐसी कुछ नहीं है जो बच्चों को इसके प्रति जागरूक करे। तो टेक्स्ट बुक में भी इनोवेशन एक्टिविटीज के बारे में लेसन्स होने चाहिए।
सुंदरराम जी ने एक सुझाव दिया था कि those scientists who do add value to scientific or to the grassroots innovations and their work should also be recognized by NIIF and other institutions, so that even if you can't get anything else to them, formal systematic, you can get them recognition. So I would say we will add that recognition to public spirited scientists to add value to their life. So that we will definitely like. That's a good suggestion. You also mentioned about the various species of desert which need to be conserved. Yes.
Hello, I'm Umar, and I like really tech media talking, but some suggestion that there is lots of innovation project there. So, is there one more module we can have that hire the innovators or or use the innovation and pay the royalty to the network and the innovator, so that helps both of them, network and the innovator.
So that will be sharing between network and innovator. Where network is helpful in some way. Good enough point. Yes.
I would like to introduce the concept of the universities in the system formally, because we are now acting as a partner, for example, validation. I think probably even this can act as small networks in the universities itself, in the form of what the IIM has been trying to. And probably this strength of networking of the universities has to be brought into the practice, in addition to the validation capacity. Because nowadays universities are seen as, okay, the center for validation of the technology. The capacity of even networking within the universities are small things, probably that could be one of the things that NIF should be looking forward, so that I think that capacity is also developed.